Well, I've discussed what, in my opinion, the best factions in the game are. It only makes sense now to go to the worst factions that I believe are in the game. This was a lot harder to make because I think there are more bad factions. I don't like the good ones. There are factions I find a lot of boring ones, but I don't think there's only a couple of ones that are really actually bad. This list is going to be a bit complicated. Starting with number 5, we have Bretonnia. And specifically with Bretonnia, Luan Leoncourt. Now, I think Bretonnia as a whole could fit in here, but I actually played a little bit of Bretonnia. I played as the Fairy Enchantress after patch 3.1, and it's a bit better, I will say. But these bonuses, in my opinion, don't help Luan Leoncourt. He's still really just... Let me explain. So I just don't like Bretonnia from the start because a lot of their focus is on cavalry. They have some of the weakest infantry, a lot of good cavalry. I mean, that is insane stats. They have decent archers. They're not great. One of the worst unit in the entire game, and one good artillery piece. It's good. It's okay. Now, I don't like cavalry. I never have. I like it in other Total War games, but I do not like it in this game. And so that's a big knock, not liking the most important thing the faction has to defend itself. That's a problem. But I would be okay with Luan Leoncourt if it wasn't for his terrible start position. So, what is it with the start position? So, he starts out war with the Mousillon vampire counts, who have taken Lianguile and have control of Mousillon. Now, taking this isn't the problem. The problem is that now you have an enemy over here, the Grunzint Skull Smashers, who have a settlement right there, and if you do not deal with them, we'll send an army this way. So, you have to take out these guys, or no, you could take out the Skull Smashers first, and then take them out. It divides your forces, because you're going to have to go one way, which is the opposite direction of the other enemy. So, but it's not too hard to take these two summons. The problem is once you start to expand further, there are so many enemies here. Okay, you have the Barrel Legion, you have Brom the Paunch, you have the Vampires, you have Bellacore, who loves to show up with units way stronger than yours in the early game. It takes a while to get the good cavalry units, and he shows up with a 20 stack and his vassal, turn 10, about to take Lianguile, and you cannot defend it well. It's a combination of those two things that I just really can't get any enjoyment for Bretonnia. And if you like Bretonnia, good for you, because I really don't like this faction. It just has too many problems. Alright, let's go to number 4, who is what was number 4 again? I forgot. Coming in at number 4 is Mazdamundi for the Lizardmen. Now this guy has so many problems. Now, I need to say again, I like a lot of the Lizardmen factions. I like the guy down here, what's his name? I like Dehenuin, and I like Nakai. Those are the only two I like. The others are kind of mid, but Mazdamundi is in such a bad position. First, his bonuses, -10 with most factions, 50% construction cost for Star Chambers, and right cost -30%. That's kind of pathetic. His Lord abilities are also kind of pathetic. He gives bonuses to Temple Guards, -50%. Temple Guards. That is a tier 4 unit that's severely outclassed by many of the infantry units below it, and you could get monster units by then. So it makes no sense to get them. And so that from the start is bad. I think him as a legendary lord is kind of pathetic. Yeah, his whole thing is he has a lot of good magic spells, but I don't know. I prefer a melee first kind of guy, magic second, like with Vlad von Karstein. He's a great legendary lord, but he just kind of sucks. I mean, and he's really. I mean, look at him. He's got a portable chair that floats around for him because he's so old. But and again, he has a bigger problem than Luan Leokur. His start position's abysmal. He starts at war with two factions. He starts at war with the Slanesh Keepers of Bliss and the Norskin Skegi. Skegi? However you say that. Now, the Slanesh faction isn't hard to deal with, but this Norskin faction is... you can make an argument it's stronger than, like, some of the other Norskins than, like, in Norska. They're so strong, and that's because their main settlement has a special building that gives them a bigger garrison. They start out with the garrison building in it. It's just there's 16 units in this walled settlement, and they have an army right there that's already 10 units. It's a lot. Then you have an empire faction down here who doesn't like you. You have savage orcs who do not like you, who have a whole garrison as well. I mean, a whole province. And then further south, once you get into Lustria, you have the Empire, who don't like you, Dark Elves, who don't like you. There's some Lizardmen factions here, but they will die. Bretonnia, Vampire Coast. There's just so many enemies. Now, it wouldn't be a problem if it's starting, once you secure your starting area, it's good. But what's this? Oh no, it's the Dark Elves, and they're here to fuck you up. Now, they've changed it in Warhammer 2, when I played it, they always declare war on me. And they still do. In Warhammer 3, you just start with the non-aggression pact, but it's bound to happen. It is bound that they're going to wipe out their starting enemy and just declare war on you because the anti-Blair bias. It's a nightmare. And honestly, if you want to play as a Lizardman faction, play as anyone but Mazdamundi. Yeah. Anyway, for our number 3, he is... I keep forgetting who is the next in line, damn. Coming in at number 3 is the Vampire Counts. Now, I'm using Vlad Varkarsin for example because he's the one I've played the most. But this really is a fit for the entire of the Vampire Counts, with the exception of Helm Gorst, because Gorst faction, the bonuses that Gorst gives to his faction is so much more different that you can make zombie doom stacks, and since zombies could get 100%, they could get physical resistance, and I think they could get minus 100%. They're really cheap, okay? They are just really cheap. It's similar to Warhammer 2, where you could use skeleton spam because you get them for free. It's kind of the same with Gorst with the zombies, and he buffs them a ton. So he's the sole exception. Every other vampire count kind of sucks, and I'll explain why. So first off, their garrisons are really weak. These are some of the weakest garrisons in the entire game, and you start with a lot. You can get a lot of territory by like turn 5. You start with 6 settlements. That's not the problem. This temple hop's easy. The problem is after that you're surrounded by enemies on every single side. The Empire, the Dwarves, the Wood Elves, the Greenskins, Kislev, everyone. Actually, no, you can get relationship with Kislev, but everyone hates you. Everyone surrounding you hates you. And that's a big problem because the Bone Rattlers, they have a faction effect where they have plus 40 relations with the vampire counts. And that just does not exist. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, if you play as the vampire counts, why don't you get a plus 40 with the greenskin bone rattlers when they have it as a faction effect? It doesn't make any sense. But ignoring their start position, which is, again, really bad, I think they're lame. All their infantry kind of sucks. All their infantry sucks. You rely on like monster units and cavalry and magic. Their magic is good, and Vlad is indeed a very powerful legendary lord. I'm not denying it. This is what keeps them from like number 1 on the list. It's their magic, their lords, and this mechanic. I think this is kind of cool. The bloodlines. but like everything else is just so hard. There are some good technologies. I think the technology tree is fine. It's a really hard faction, and I've tried so many times. I can't. I suck. I suck at playing Vampire Chaos. This is a real personal choice for me because I've tried so many times, and I failed so many times. Like, all right, this faction sucks. I hate playing this. Anyway, for the next faction, these next two factions are completely justifiable as some of the worst in this entire game. Okay, you all knew this one was coming. I mean, did you really think I would make a worst factions list and not include Nurgle? Nurgle is just bad. Everything about him just kind of stinks, literally. So, now I want to say this, I want to preface this. I think Nurgle can get off this list very soon because he has a rework coming soon, later in the year. So I think he will get off this list once that rework comes out. But until then, he's gonna stink up the whole lot. So what they did was they gave all their units physical resistance, which isn't a bad thing. Quarter physical resistance, that's pretty good, honestly. But their infantry still suck. They just do. And their whole build mechanic sucks. It's so the whole way it works is like you build the building. It costs a lot of money. Like 10,000. It's so expensive. And you build it up, and eventually it'll sprout. It will grow, and then it has a cycle that it goes through essentially. And this is for everything. And the problem is the buildings are way, way too expensive. Like, look, $6,000 I start with. It costs $5,000 just to build one thing. They are so expensive. Like, look at this. 10,000 to build that. I understand, like, once you build it, it keeps going, it does its thing. But like, even then, it takes forever. The build mechanic needs to be worked. Either they make it cheaper or they make the cycle shorter. I think they have to do both. They have to like half this price or something. If they like make it cheaper but make the cycle longer, I think that would be the best way to go. Because right now, as it is terrible. It's so hard to get any good units. Like all the infrastructure units, that's Nurglings. Nothing but Nurglings for all those, And this is your best bet here, the Plague Bearer of Nurgle, and then you get the Exalted Plague Bearers, which are actually good units. You got Marauders of Nurgle, Great Weapons, Spawn of Nurgle, Chaos Warriors. It's okay, Soul Grinder, but it's so expensive. The units aren't bad, but getting the better ones are so expensive. They really are. Nurgle starts position is also really bad. It starts out okay. You have one faction you have to deal with, but this one faction's kind of hard because they start with two armies. And, you want to focus on destroying the armies first, so you go up north, but then Dreadwalk's right there. But you could probably swim to it. That's not the problem. The problem is Helmengorst. It's always Helmengorst. And he's, because he's a vampire faction, he's able to get reduction costs even more than normal factions. He just has a lot of armies. And that's a big problem. The technology tree sucks. Like, these are not good technologies at all. Like, this is useless. That's okay. That's okay. That's useless. That's useless. It's a lot of these are just useless technologies. That one is look how far you have to get for Cathay. You fight Cathay. Cathay's right there, and you need to advance through the whole technology tree. That just shows how badly he needs to rework. His cauldron mechanic, it kind of sucks. Here, let me show you. Essentially, you make a plague that affects things. Now, there are some good ones. Like all these ones down here, they're good. But you need to get the symptoms for it first. And it's just so hard. The rewards are so lacking. His unholy manifestations are okay. Like, I'm not going to say these are bad. Because they're okay. But again, they're just it takes forever to get to them. And again, it's just the problem is he's lacking so many things. Diplomacy's off the table with all factions except Chaos Dwarves. His victory conditions want you to go. Oh, I think they reworked. No, they did not rework it. If you want long campaign, you go into the Chaos Waste all the way down south. It's so hard. It's a faction I've tried before and I've given up on multiple times because he just sucks. Nurgle himself has some good things here. He has a good range weapon. He has some decent abilities. Like his whole thing's buffing Nurgles. And, he does a decent job at that. He reduces upkeep for Nurglings as well. He gives a lot of bonuses for Nurglings, and that's good, but it's not enough. Okay, like that's not very good. What else we got here? Like that? No, not there. Where are the Nurglings? There, the Nurglings. That's okay. It's just the problem is he's way too weak. Has way too many strong enemies. He needs a rework. Now I will come back to Nurgle and all the factions that are reworked over the next 6 months. But right now, leave him alone. He's a big stinky doo-doo head. All right. Now for number 1. And if you watched my previous video, you know exactly who it is. Yeah, I hope you all saw this coming. For my number 1 choice for worst faction in this game, I choose the Demons of Chaos. Now, I have a whole video talking about why this guy sucks, but let me sum it up. No technology. What? His only unique thing is customize your one legendary lord. He offered, essentially, you choose a god to go with, and you can, get bonuses for choosing equipment that relates to that god. That's it. There's your entire campaign mechanic. And it's just for him. Just to him. Yeah, he has access to all the demon units. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And that's it. That's the only good thing about him. That you can play with all the factions. But he just sucks. Nothing about him is interesting. It's a bad thing when I think the most interesting thing about him is the prologue that he is when you play as him as a human. As a human, he's better. I don't understand why he decided to become... really, dude? This is the best you got? Becoming this guy? He sucks. He just sucks so much. He starts with 30% physical resistance because they know how much he sucks. They're like, quick, just give him resistance. That'll fix everything. No, it doesn't. He sucks so much. And to be honest, no one should play him. He sucks. I don't know what else to say. He really is a complete failure. He needs a rework. And, he wasn't in the patch 4 or 5. So either he's in patch 6 or we might as well delete this faction from the game. He sucks. All right? He's just... Oh, my God. I hate this faction so much. Like all the other ones, except Nurgle. Nurgle and him are the 2 worst, without question. All the others, I can see you get some enjoyment out of. But these, Nurgle and Daniel, they're not good. And the reason Nurgle isn't number 1 is because A, he has a technology tree, which is a bear, and yeah, it sucks, but at least he has a technology tree. And 2, I think the Nurgle units, him buffing Nurgles a lot, if you can get past the brutal early campaign, I think it could be a bit of fun. This guy is just never fun. His campaign mechanic sucks. And he has no technology tree. And the battles are mid for him. That's about it. That sums it up perfectly. Forgotten, and will probably be forgotten forever. And that's about it. Those are my top 5 worst factions. If you have one that you think should be on this list, then leave a comment down below. I'll give it a read and I'll tell you my opinion. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Goodbye.